I feel like there's two definitions of incremental and incrementality. And from like a measurement standpoint, there's this idea of calculating your baseline and trying to figure out what is net new on that baseline. This one campaign that we did, how much revenue was generated because of that campaign that wouldn't have happened otherwise. That's incrementality testing. It's what a lot of measurement providers are going all in on. But we also have a lot of folks that they hear incremental and they think small. They think of like a tiny little change, tweaking, compounding effect. So it like that term itself is doing a disservice because of the mixed definition there. But you called out incrementality as the second concept that would make someone leap into that top 5% of growth leaders. Simone, like for folks who think they understand what that means, how do you define incrementality and maybe chat about an example there?
Yeah, and I think like a lot of people understand the concept of incrementality. And that's why I think the two things in tandem are great. Like you need someone who understands incrementality in their day-to-day like campaigning and testing, but also that like incrementality can lead to a local maximum and not, big thinking. So you need like both. It's like almost like your very rational math brain, and then your more like creative out there
Mm,
marketing brain that you can't forget. And I think like for me, what I'm looking for, and it's always a question I ask for hiring, and like most people think they understand it, but when you ask them like to explain the first principle, they can't do a very good explanation necessarily. And I like when it's very simple and almost instinctive. So it's like what you just said, Phil. It's like what would have happened if I didn't do this test? Is so sometimes I'm like, hey, what's a campaign you did? And oh, we launched a promotion and dropped the price by 10%, and sales went up by 25% during Black Friday. I'm like, okay, so what was the impact of the campaign?
mhm.
Well, the sales went up by 25%. I'm like, is that the impact of the campaign? And so it's fine. Like if you push the candidate to the answer, yeah, they understand. Oh, yeah, we also had another item that was not on sale and saw an increase in sales by 5% because it was Black Friday. So I think like the impact was probably like 10, 15. And so if I see someone who is instinctively going there, I think it's going to be a better candidate or a better, team member, because that's just always it's almost a meme at Well Simple, where every time someone shares results, if I don't see the incrementality analysis, I answer in threads like, okay, but what's the impact? It's
Mhm.
like, yes, great, like great engagement. A lot of people participated, especially when you start playing with like pricing and discounts and incentives. Yeah, if you give free money to people, they're gonna do something. But are you sure like people didn't who are not gonna do it did it? Um, you don't even need to be a marketer to understand that necessarily. It's like very first principle. Um,
I've been reflecting on this a bit, on incrementality. And on one hand, if you have the scale to do it, if you have the if you have the numbers, the volume, the number of customers or potential visitors, then what you invest in incrementality and even the changes that you make can actually have outsized returns. So small things can lead to big things. Uh, what if you don't have the data? Or like what if you don't have that volume? And like I'm asking this earnestly because I think about this myself, Simone.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you went to another company where that wasn't a thing, like you had a small set of customers, you had a long sales cycle, you didn't have the data to do incrementality. Do you think you would just start melting and like, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm just like I'm asking that earnestly because I wonder what I would do. You know what I mean? Like is it a skill set to environment type thing? Like if we went to different
Probably.
companies, would we need
Yeah.
an entirely different skill
Mm.
set, or like what do you think?
Yeah, and I think you're onto something. Like if you're still in the early days, you're not necessarily looking for like incrementality, incremental change, and you're looking for like bigger swings. Or sometimes you're just trying to get by, trying to get new clients, trying to hit your numbers, and you don't have to worry too much about, is this incremental or not? We hit our numbers, we get momentum, we just ship. Like honestly, the one thing that supersedes incrementality, attribution, local maximum is speed for me. And if you don't have because what I don't want is like, and what I hate when I see that in my team sometimes and in myself, it's like we spend so much time discussing the attribution framework before shipping the experiment. I'd rather ship it with no data than like talking about it for days and see what happens. I think it's a good product. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good offer. And sometimes you get lost into the attribution, the modeling conversations. So sometimes you are at a stage where speed matters more and just shipping than incrementality questions. And yeah, if you have a lot of clients, it's a little easier. If you're doing like first, owned channels campaigns via email, via notification in your app, it's very easy to do incrementality analysis. You just have a holdout group. If you are doing ads, if you have enough budget, you can do a geo holdout somewhere, and, measure precisely what the incrementality is. Most of the times you're probably not going to have that. And so you want to do just like simple pre-post. I launched this. Can I see with my eyes on the chart that it did anything? Right. So that's incrementality. And if you tell me to my question, if I'm saying like, so what was the impact? Well, we doubled our sales, or, sales went up quite a bit, or I can see like clearly this changed the trajectory. It's like, okay, like that's incrementality too, without all the data frameworks necessarily.
Yeah, some of the folks that have strong opinions about incrementality have said that some of the drawbacks are that you should only do big incrementality tests for things that you don't think are incremental, and you're trying to validate that assumption. Because channels that you have a really good idea are incremental already, there's really strong signals. Maybe you did an incrementality test last year. You don't need to keep running incrementality tests on those things because they cost money. The example that a lot of folks
Exactly.
give is like if we're doing meta ads and like $20 million per year on meta ads, and we want to run an incrementality test for 6 months, that's potentially $5 million that could disappear just to be able to measure whether this channel is incremental or not. But if one of them, we have this hunch that it isn't incremental, then like the argument of the opportunity cost of running that test. So
Yeah,
maybe chat about that a little bit. Like, do you agree?
I agree with you. And I will say, to me, the cost is not even the 5 million, it's the time that you
Right.
wasted
Yeah.
running those tests. That's like the most precious thing in a startup, where your default dead is like your time. It's a
Yeah.
race against default dead. You're not profitable yet, right?
Mhm.
And you have like a certain amount of time to figure it out. And if you're wasting it on like too many of these like incrementality tests, like you're not doing something else. So it's the opportunity cost of running these models. And it's funny because like a lot of people they want to know, okay, what's your attribution model? Like, as if it's like some magical dashboard where my attribution and incrementality is measured in real time, and I'm gonna have a big MMM media mix model that gives me like all the data is fed perfectly. That's not my experience with it, and it's more like what you said, where when either something I have doubts, like programmatic never worked for anyone. Kind of funny that it's working for us, right? Or something, and like it's, as a growth person, you have to be very cynical and doubt everything,
Mhm.
but also be very optimistic about your company. So I can talk about that. But the way I approach incrementality is like, if I doubt something, or if we're spending a lot of money, and like my finance team was like, hey, you have one budget, so if you spend it there, it's not incremental, you're out. So then I think it's worth doing this one-time test, build conviction, go all in, and then eventually if conditions change, and it's 2 years later or whatever, and like it's not the same macro environment, you can retest. But I agree with you, test where it makes sense and then move on.